The front entrance to Harry and Deborah Floor's home seldom saw any activity. Typically, they entered and exited through the garage side door or the sliding glass doors leading to the patio. Adjacent to the entrance on the right stood the formal living room, meticulously maintained yet rarely utilized. On the left, a hallway branched off, leading to 3 bedrooms, including the spacious master suite and a guest bathroom. The formal living room, enveloped in darkness with its heavy curtains drawn, housed a pristine white camel-backed couch against the rear wall, flanked by large wing-backed chairs, all arranged around a walnut coffee table. However, none of these details held any significance until that particular day. Late in the morning, Harry found himself seated in one of the wing-backed chairs, his back turned to the archway connecting the entryway to the living room. This spot had become his refuge during his wife's absences, a place for introspection and contemplation about his life's complexities. He often found himself calculating the potential losses should he muster the courage to end his failing marriage. Their mutual friends would inevitably choose sides, the house would be lost, alimony payments would burden him for years, and his assets would diminish amidst legal battles. Yet the thought of dealing with Deborah's vindictiveness loomed large. Lost in these ruminations, Harry was abruptly jolted by the sound of the side door opening, signaling Deborah's return from grocery shopping. He realized he should have moved, feigning activity in their bedroom to avoid another confrontation if caught in the living room. Arguments were a common occurrence in the household, typically initiated by Deborah, and centered around unwarranted critiques of Harry for trivial matters, concocted reasons, or sometimes for no reason at all. Harry understood that Deborah's aim was to keep him off balance, simply for the sake of it. She could sustain a dispute over the smallest of issues for weeks, yet Harry always managed to find a way to appease her and bring it to an end. In Harry's perspective, life lost its worth amidst constant friction. He believed it was better to resolve conflicts promptly. However, the challenge lay in the fact that a new argument would inevitably arise shortly afterward. After a decade of marriage, Harry saw divorce as the only escape from the hopeless situation. Nevertheless, he persisted in his efforts to improve things, primarily to preserve his own sanity rather than solely to please his wife. As Harry heard the freezer door close, indicating Deborah's return and her intention to send him out for the remaining groceries, he anticipated her habitual demands. She often directed him on tasks, expecting not just obedience, but also enduring her criticisms throughout. Harry, wishing to delay facing her for as long as possible, remained motionless, bracing himself for her call, or even worse, her whistle, an act that increasingly grated on his nerves, likening it to the call of a pet. Instead of her voice, he discerned the sound of her light footsteps nearing the entryway. Had he glanced up, he would have observed her pausing at the tile floor, scanning the hallway cautiously to ensure privacy. Harry remained silent, waiting in anticipation. Deborah's thoughts raced as she entered the house, contemplating whether she should have called ahead while still in the car. Driving and talking simultaneously posed challenges, though, and she felt safe now. She assumed Harry was diligently working on the gazebo in the backyard. Within moments, Harry detected the faint chirp of Deborah's cell phone as she dialed a number. She was now just a few feet away in the entryway, unaware of his presence. "Hi, Daddy. Can you talk now?" Deborah's choice of address puzzled Harry. "We're good for Thursday afternoon. I'll call him at work after 1 o'clock. He should be back from lunch by then. If he's at his desk, we'll be fine for a few hours. I'll open the back gate like always and see you about 2. Deborah's conversation continued, leaving Harry perplexed. As the other party responded, Deborah cooed, "Sure, Daddy. You know I adored you. I've got to go and find out where my boy is now. I'll see you Thursday." Harry heard the snap of the flip phone closing before Deborah's footsteps receded toward the sliding glass door. She whistled and called out to him, seemingly unaware of his presence or the tension brewing within him. Although Harry found himself in a tense situation, his military and life experiences had equipped him with automatic responses. He reminded himself not to panic unless directly threatened, leveraging his knowledge to his advantage and selecting the opportune moment to act. He focused on maintaining a blank expression, controlling his breathing, and projecting an air of normalcy. Harry rose from his seat and made his way into the den, concocting an excuse as he went. "I'm back. Was in the bathroom. Need to dash to the hardware store for gazebo parts," he uttered, avoiding eye contact as he navigated toward the kitchen and the side door. He marveled at his ability to vocalize his words and at his restraint from throttling her on the spot. She turned to observe him as he passed, noting the flush in his cheeks. "Wear a hat outside. You're turning red. Can't stand the sight of your peeling skin in a couple of days. And bring in the groceries before you go anywhere and don't linger all day," she instructed, dropping her phone into her purse on the kitchen counter before heading to inspect his gazebo progress. Criticisms awaited upon his return, as usual. This was classic Deborah. Nearly every utterance came with directives and either implicit or explicit criticisms. As she ventured into the backyard, Harry discreetly retrieved her phone from the purse, swiftly noting the last dialed number before returning it to its place. After Harry finished stowing away the groceries, he departed in his compact pickup truck. However, he didn't head for the hardware store, as he claimed. Instead, he made a stop at a nearby local park, a couple of blocks away. For the initial 15 minutes, he meticulously replayed the brief conversation he had just overheard in his mind. He wanted to ingrain every word into his memory. To ensure clarity, he even made some notes. There was no ambiguity. The message was clear. His wife was engaged in an affair, and worse, it seemed to be taking place under his own roof, perhaps even in their shared bed while he was away at work. The realization filled him with seething anger, knowing he was unknowingly financing her betrayal while toiling away to support her. Questions raced through his mind. Who was the mysterious daddy she was speaking to? It couldn't be her actual father, given the local area code and her parents residing thousands of miles away in California. In the early stages of their marriage, she occasionally referred to Harry as daddy during intimate moments. Though she had long ceased this habit, Harry recalled it distinctly, finding it slightly peculiar. Initially, he had thought it might signal her desire for children, but they had mutually decided against starting a family a few years into their marriage. However, she undeniably exhibited traits of a daddy's girl. As Harry's thoughts shifted to practical considerations, he contemplated his next move. Her lover would be entering through the back gate on Thursday, likely walking down the alley. Harry pondered the possibility of ambushing him there, but then the question arose. What would he do with his unfaithful wife? If the lover arrived on foot, his vehicle must be parked nearby. Suddenly, a realization dawned on him. The lover would likely leave his car right here at the park. Who was this mysterious man, and how could Harry uncover his identity? The obvious approach would be to dial the number retrieved from Deborah's cell phone. He could orchestrate a scenario where someone else, perhaps a woman, inadvertently called the number and attempted to extract information about the man's identity. But who could make that call? The first person who came to mind was Deborah's closest friend, Dorothy. If anyone else knew about the affair, it was likely Dorothy. Deborah's relationship with her sister was strained, making it improbable that she would be privy to such information. Since Dorothy had always been a friend to both Harry and Deborah, he contemplated whether he could confide in her. However, he hesitated, recognizing the strong bond that often existed between women, sometimes surpassing loyalty to their spouses. Dorothy was married to John, who, despite their age difference, shared a seemingly loving and devoted relationship with her. Harry assumed Dorothy would confide in John about most things, but would she disclose Deborah's infidelity to him? Harry considered John a friend, although not particularly close. Nevertheless, he believed John, being a man of integrity, would have informed him if he had knowledge of such a situation. Harry opted to approach John, requiring a trip to the golf course where John, enjoying semi-retirement, dedicated his Saturdays as a goodwill ambassador for the course. This role granted him a complimentary round of golf during less crowded times. En route, Harry meticulously devised his strategy. He couldn't risk blurting out sensitive information that might inadvertently reach Dorothy and subsequently Deborah. He needed to proceed with caution. "John, I have a hypothetical question for you." Harry broached the topic as they rode together in a golf cart, accompanying John to assess conditions at the seventh hole. "If you were privy to a confidential conversation, would you feel compelled to maintain confidentiality, or would you disclose it to Dorothy?" John shot Harry an intrigued glance before driving on for a few yards. "Are you implying you want me to keep something from Dorothy?" "I suppose I'm inquiring whether you and Dorothy share all confidential information you receive from others, even if it's shared in confidence. It's purely hypothetical," Harry clarified. John halted the cart, steering onto the grass, and turned to face Harry directly, a sense of expectancy in his gaze. "Do you have a specific question in mind? If so, feel free to ask," he replied, his expression remaining intense. "In the event I do pose a question, can I trust you to maintain the confidentiality of this conversation?" Harry inquired cautiously. "I can assure you of this. I won't divulge it unless Dorothy specifically asks, but if she does, I won't deceive her. That's my principle, Harry. I'll respect confidentiality, but I won't lie to my wife or a friend," John asserted firmly. Sensing that John was aware of something, Harry gathered his composure and posed the question directly. "John, are you aware of any extramarital affair my wife may be involved in?" "Technically, no," John responded before unleashing a torrent of information as if a floodgate had been opened. "It was last New Year's, at the Holden's party," John recounted as he and Harry sat together, discussing the unsettling revelation. Everyone had gathered outside for the fireworks display. Dorothy had indulged in champagne, a rare occurrence for her. Feeling unwell, she retreated upstairs to the bathroom on the landing. While she was indisposed, she heard someone attempting to open the door. After she finished and exited the bathroom, she heard noises emanating from down the hall, where it curves toward the bedrooms. Concerned that someone might be in need of assistance, she investigated. At the end of the hallway, she found Deborah pressed against the wall with a man, engaging in inappropriate behavior. Harry listened intently as John continued, relaying Dorothy's account of the incident. Deborah noticed Dorothy's presence and dismissively gestured for her to leave. On the ride home, Dorothy disclosed the encounter to me. Given the long-standing friendship between Dorothy and Deborah, she opted to speak with Deborah before taking further action. I, however, believed it was imperative to inform you immediately. John paused briefly before divulging Deborah's explanation to Dorothy. According to Deborah, it was a one-time occurrence, fueled by alcohol, a disagreement with you, and aggressive advances from the man in question, Buddy Mitchell. Dorothy is familiar with him. He's notorious for his bullying behavior and married into wealth, his wife being a lawyer. So, Dorothy asked me to keep it quiet, since we didn't want to destroy your marriage over a single incident. But I told her, if you ever asked me about it directly, I wouldn't lie to you. It's been eating away at me for these past 5 months. I'm relieved it's out, but I'm truly sorry, man," John confessed, his remorse evident in his tone. Deborah lied to Dorothy. "It's not over. She's been carrying on with this guy, or maybe it's some other guy by now. I overheard her talking to him on the phone just an hour ago," Harry added, his anguish palpable. "God, man, if I had known, I would have come to you. I'm so sorry, Harry. Let's head back to my place and see what Dorothy has to say. Maybe she knows something else," John suggested, his concern for Harry evident. Leaving the golf course in their respective vehicles, they drove to Dorothy and John's home. Harry broke the news to Dorothy, who sat down, tears streaming down her face. She had hoped against hope that things would work out for Harry and Deborah. Now, learning that the affair was ongoing, her expression shifted from sorrow to a hint of betrayal. Dorothy had trusted Deborah's assurance that the affair was over, and her actions, or lack thereof, had been based on that lie. "Dorothy, there's something you could do for me. I checked Deborah's phone, and I have the number she called. Would you call him? Pretend it's a wrong number, and try to get his name. I want to be certain who she's seeing now," Harry requested, a glimmer of determination in his eyes. Dorothy, who worked from home as an editor with a Ph.D. in English literature and a background in theater, meticulously strategized her approach. Utilizing her impeccable acting skills and adept social engineering abilities, she prepared for the call. Her flawless English accent, always a source of admiration, would be her key to success. Setting her phone to speaker mode, she dialed the number. "Hi, this is Buddy Mitchell," came the response. Dorothy blinked in surprise. "Sorry, wrong number," she quickly replied, her carefully crafted scenario crumbling before her eyes. Despite the disappointment, the message was clear. Deborah had not terminated her affair with Mitchell, confirming another crucial piece of information. As they deliberated their next steps, Harry remained resolute in his determination to catch Deborah and her paramour in the act at their next rendezvous on Thursday. However, he desired additional evidence to confront his wife comprehensively. He aimed to catch her not only red-handed, but also in the web of lies she would undoubtedly spin to conceal her actions. "I can't afford to hire a detective to tail her. Plus, she might not even meet or communicate with Mitchell before Thursday. Divorce expenses are looming, and I need concrete evidence quickly." Harry voiced his concerns. Silence enveloped the room as they pondered their options. "What if there was a mole?" Dorothy proposed. "A mole? What do you mean?" Harry inquired. "What if someone close to her, like her best friend, were to extract the truth from her?" Dorothy suggested. "You'd do that?" Harry asked, surprised. "Never underestimate an infuriated woman, guys. I've had enough of her and how she's treated us all. I believe I can concoct a story that will coax the truth out of her," Dorothy asserted confidently. For the next hour, they meticulously devised their plan. Dorothy would reach out to Deborah, feigning desperate need for assistance. They would arrange a coffee meeting on Sunday morning. Meanwhile, John would modify an old purse of Dorothy's to discreetly house a video camera, capturing every word and expression during the rendezvous. By Sunday noon, they anticipated having gathered invaluable insights. "Deborah, I need to talk to you urgently. Can we meet for coffee tomorrow morning? I'm in a bit of a bind, and you're the only one I trust with the experience to help me out," Dorothy appealed over the phone. "What's going on, Dorothy? Is everything all right with you and John?" Deborah responded with concern. "It's not that. Deborah, remember the incident at last New Year's party? Well, I find myself in a situation similar to that," Dorothy hinted, hoping Deborah would understand the gravity of the matter. "Ah, I see. I might be able to offer some assistance with that. How about 10 o'clock at the new coffee spot in the mall? Let's choose a quiet corner to chat. I'll see you there," Deborah agreed readily. Secretly, Deborah couldn't help but smile. It seemed like her old friend was finally breaking free from her shell. Dorothy had been stuck with that old coot of a husband for years, and Deborah believed she deserved better. Besides, Dorothy still had her charm. The thought of having a confidant to share tales with, reminiscent of the bond she once shared with her sister, excited Deborah. She looked forward to imparting her knowledge and wisdom to Dorothy, just as her sister and, more importantly, her father had done for her. Arriving early at the coffee shop, Dorothy selected a table outside under the shelter of an awning. Carefully arranging her purse on the table, she checked the concealed camera inside. She positioned 2 chairs away from the table, leaving only one spot for Deborah to sit. Ensuring the camera angle and audio were optimal, Dorothy conducted some final tests. With the calm air eliminating any risk of wind noise, she primed the camera to start recording with a single button press. Equipped with a 16 gigabytes memory card, the camera could capture ample footage. Thanks to John's ingenuity, the camera was discreetly integrated into the purse with Velcro straps, blending seamlessly into its design. Dorothy was poised and prepared when Deborah arrived. "Deborah, Could you grab us some coffee while I save our spot? This corner seems the most secluded, Dorothy requested. Sure thing, be right back. Deborah agreed before heading to the counter. As Deborah returned with the drinks, Dorothy surreptitiously activated the on button on the concealed camera, ensuring it was recording. After exchanging brief pleasantries, Dorothy delved into her narrative. Deborah, I've been thinking a lot about my marriage with John. I've never even considered cheating on him. But now, I'm tempted. I'm seeking your advice because of what happened after the New Year's party. Will I regret it if I go through with it? Dorothy confessed. Go for it, girl. Honestly, I don't understand why you haven't done this sooner. John's a nice guy and all, but he's past his prime. You're still young and beautiful, Deborah encouraged, her voice filled with enthusiasm. I've always admired your appearance, but I've never grasped why you stick with John, Deborah responded candidly. Wow, no guilt then. You seem pretty confident about this. Was the party incident truly a one-off? Dorothy probed further. Honey, I won't sugarcoat it now. I had to reassure you back then or risk exposing our secret. But now that you're in a similar situation, we can share everything. In fact, we're in for some exhilarating conversations, Deborah admitted. Deborah, spill the beans. I'm intrigued now that I'm contemplating the same path. How did things start with you and Buddy? Are you two still involved? Dorothy inquired eagerly. The gleam in your eyes says it all. If you're not feeling a little flushed right now, I bet you will be soon. All right, here's the scoop on Buddy. We actually crossed paths 2 months prior at the Holden's Halloween bash, remember? I was donning that leopard outfit, and Buddy couldn't take his eyes off me for the first hour. And well, I returned the favor, Deborah disclosed, igniting a conversation filled with intrigue and desire. When his wife was occupied with the trick-or-treaters at the front door, and Harry was tending to the fire out back, Buddy sidled up beside me and murmured to rendezvous on the landing in 5 minutes. I simply nodded in agreement. You know how bustling and sprawling that party was, with the vastness of the house making it effortless to slip away unnoticed. So I strolled along the dimly lit hallway and ascended to the landing. It was deserted up there, as all the excitement was downstairs. Upon reaching the landing, Buddy pulled me into a fervent kiss and guided me into the bathroom, securing the door behind us. Dorothy, he's formidable, and he takes what he desires. That's what entices me. No pretense, no declarations of love, none of that sentimental nonsense. We indulged probably 20 times between that Halloween and New Year's. We attempted a repeat on Halloween night, but you were occupying the bathroom. So we sought out another location. So it didn't conclude there, did it? Are you still involved with him? Dorothy inquired. Absolutely, darling. He's exhilarating. Furthermore, we have plans to convene next week, in the comfort of my own bed, Deborah divulged. Goodness, that's quite bold. But what about Harry? Do you not feel any twinge of guilt towards him? Dorothy pressed further. Dorothy, Harry is a husband. You don't treat a husband in the same manner as a lover. They serve entirely distinct purposes. Harry is there to fulfill my desires. Buddy, on the other hand, brings me joy, Deborah asserted confidently. Dorothy, let me give you my take on Harry. He was a practical choice for a husband because I knew he'd always be a reliable provider. It's a relief he didn't push for kids. He's obedient, easily influenced. I've got him under my thumb, like a TV remote. A little display of jealousy or a sporadic argument throws him off, keeps him in check. Sometimes I'll even sniff him when he gets home, pretending to check for perfume, just to throw him off the scent of my infidelity. And when we watch movies about cheating husbands, I make a big show of condemning it, assuring him I'd never tolerate such behavior. Having Harry around is like having a loyal pet. He's so passive. I can treat him however I please, and he keeps coming back for more. I throw him scraps of attention now and then, and in return, I have all the freedom I desire. I can come and go as I please, while he has to clear every move with me first. I always know where he is, so I never have to worry about him catching me with another man." "So, you've had other lovers?" Dorothy inquired. "Oh, Dorothy, I'd lost count. The first one was that first year we were married. He was barely legal, just some guy picked up in the supermarket. He never even knew my real name. We flitted around hotel rooms for about 6 months until he got too clingy. You've got to be cautious with the young ones," Deborah recounted casually. "After that, I had a string of brief encounters. There was this vendor friend once, but it was convenient because he only visited town a few times a year. However, Buddy stuck around longer than any of them. By the way, he's married to a woman who clearly turns a blind eye. She works while he indulges. He can come to me almost any time, and I'm the one pulling the strings. So, spill the beans on your new conquest. Where did you meet him?" Dorothy eagerly inquired, launching into her fabricated tale about her supposed lover Bill. The specifics were irrelevant, but Dorothy's performance was flawless, convincing Deborah with every word, and even prompting her to encourage Dorothy to seize the moment. "Deborah, I can't help but admire how you're always in control. I'm not sure if I could manage John the way you handle Harry," Dorothy confessed. "Honey, in the animal kingdom, you have your dominant figures, and then there's the rest of the pack, obedient and serving. The drones are there to cater to the queen bee. I'm the alpha with Harry, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The alpha chooses her mates, and so I exercise that privilege because it's mine. Harry could have claimed that position if he had it in him, but he didn't. He may put up a struggle at times, but he could never outlast me. He detests confrontation, but I thrive in it. I've got more endurance, and I ensure I always come out on top. I'm the alpha. You could easily do the same. I don't see any reason why you couldn't take the reins. John couldn't replace you at his age. All you need to do is step into that role, and freedom will be yours. Start dating Bill and relish every moment. John will still be there, and the more you mistreat him, the more he'll slip into his innate submissive role. You could openly date Bill in front of John, and he'd simply accept it. That's just how things operate in the real world. You've always been in control. You just haven't fully exploited it yet," Deborah advised sagely. Their conversation had stretched on for quite some time, and Dorothy was eager to retrieve the recording and share it with John and Harry. With profuse thanks, she bid Deborah farewell and headed home. As they watched the footage, Dorothy and John were taken aback by the stark transformation in Deborah's demeanor. Her usual demeanor around others didn't hint at such callousness towards Harry. Harry himself was stunned, although he had learned that Deborah was capable of surprising behavior. "Another angle we haven't considered is Kelly Mitchell," Harry pointed out. "Do you have any insights into her, Dorothy? She must be aware of her husband's infidelity. I feel a moral obligation to inform her about his affair with Deborah, in case she's unaware. But if she already knows, she might intervene and jeopardize our plan." "I've only had brief interactions with Kelly at a couple of parties," Dorothy recalled. "She maintains a facade, but there's a palpable sense of unhappiness. Given her husband's reputation as a bully, it's possible she's under his thumb. It's risky to involve her. She might inadvertently foil our plan. However, if she's cooperative, she could potentially help expose him. I could try reaching out to her discreetly, gauge her stance on his infidelity, and assess whether she's likely to aid or hinder us. You've handled the video brilliantly, so I trust you to handle Kelly Mitchell. The sooner we address this, the better it will be for my plans. All right, everyone, I appreciate your assistance. Once I hear back about Mrs. Mitchell, you both are off the hook. I won't involve you any further, and it's best you remain unaware of the details. Harry, you're not planning anything reckless, are you?" Dorothy inquired cautiously. "Reckless? Like the things I've been enduring for the past decade," Harry retorted, his frustration evident. "No, I mean something violent," Dorothy clarified. Harry didn't offer a direct response. "I'll deal with this the only way I know how. I implore all of you to maintain strict confidentiality. If she reaches out to you, simply ignore her calls. That way, whatever unfolds will be beyond your control. I'll shoulder full responsibility." Later that evening, Dorothy took a bold step and dialed Kelly Mitchell's number. "Kelly, this is Dorothy Clark. We've crossed paths at the Holden's gatherings a few times," Dorothy began. "Hi, Dorothy. Of course, I remember you. What's on your mind?" Kelly's voice carried a hint of curiosity. "Dare I ask if you're alone at the moment? I need to ensure our conversation remains confidential," Dorothy inquired cautiously. "Buddy's out running errands, and I'm just here reading. Is everything all right? Is this about a legal matter?" Kelly responded, her tone shifting slightly. "Well, in a way, it could involve legal matters. Kelly, I'll be blunt. I'm terribly sorry to deliver such news, but I believe you deserve to know. Buddy is being unfaithful to you. It's not with me, but with someone I'm acquainted with. I'm deeply sorry you're hearing this from me," Dorothy conveyed with empathy. There was a heavy silence on the other end, followed by the sound of muffled sobs. "That scumbag. He'd assured me it was all in the past. A year ago, he swore he was done with that. I forgave him on that promise, and I made it clear if he did it again, I'd be done with him," Kelly lamented tearfully. Dorothy offered her words of comfort before gently probing further. "Kelly, what would you like to do about this? I understand it's not my place to ask, but depending on your decision, I may be able to offer some assistance." "Dorothy, I truly value your support. Let me assure you, Buddy will never set foot in my bed again. I have a rock-solid prenuptial agreement, and I've made it abundantly clear that if I catch him cheating, he's out on the streets with nothing. He's utterly dependent on me for everything, and without my financial support, he'll be destitute. He can't hold down a job, and his only skill seems to be charming his way into social events. He'll be scraping the bottom of the barrel until he finds some other unsuspecting woman to take him in. Kelly, I'm glad to hear you're taking a firm stance. I can provide you with the evidence you need, but I need your assurance that you'll keep your composure for a few days and not tip him off that you're onto him," Dorothy inquired. "You have my word. I'll be as cool as a cucumber, and he won't suspect a thing until I have concrete evidence in my possession," Kelly affirmed resolutely. "Excellent. Can I arrange for someone to drop off some initial evidence at your office tomorrow?" Dorothy proposed. They arranged a meeting, and Dorothy wasted no time in contacting Harry the following morning. He was to meet her at her office at 1 p.m. on Monday. Harry entered Dorothy's office holding the video camera. After introductions and a handshake, he took a seat. "Mrs. Mitchell, I'm the husband of the woman your husband is involved with. Here she is in her own words," Harry stated solemnly as he placed the camera on her desk. With a few clicks, he found the relevant section and pressed play. Although the screen was small, the audio came through loud and clear. Harry noticed tears welling in Kelly's eyes. He moved around the desk and placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "I can only imagine how you must be feeling. This is all new to me, as I've only recently discovered my wife's actions, but it seems you've known about Buddy's behavior for quite some time. Am I right? Kelly, I'm planning something, and I want to extend the offer for you to be involved. It's going to happen regardless, so if you choose not to participate, I understand. However, I wouldn't feel right if I didn't give you the option," Harry explained. "Harry, he's been terrorizing me for years. I've endured it time and again. There have been moments when I've genuinely feared for my safety. I'm done tolerating it. I want to turn the tables. I want him to feel some pain," Kelly expressed with resolve. "Harry, will your plan involve violence?" she inquired cautiously. "It might get messy. I won't resort to murder, but I fully expect to give your cheating husband a thorough beating." "Does that pose a problem for you?" Harry replied candidly. "Harry, I'm 5'5", and he's 6'2". I've never stood a chance against him. No offense, but I'm not convinced you can take him in a fair fight," Kelly admitted with skepticism. It won't be a fair fight. I'll make sure he gets what's coming to him, Harry affirmed confidently. Kelly offered a faint smile and nodded. Count me in then. Just one request, Harry. Leave a little something for me to handle as well. After his meeting with Kelly Mitchell, Harry found it hard to focus on work. The sting of Deborah's hurtful words from the video lingered, and though he disagreed with her characterization of him, he couldn't deny there was some truth to it. He didn't see his accommodating nature as a weakness, but rather as an effort to maintain peace in their marriage. Yet he couldn't shake off the feeling of being belittled, especially when she referred to him as her little gay friend. Determined to assert his masculinity, Harry contemplated confronting Deborah before Thursday's planned confrontation. What would her reaction be if he asserted himself more forcefully? Would she desire him more, or would it push her further away? Deep down, he knew their trust had been irreparably shattered, rendering any reconciliation impossible. However, he couldn't help but wonder if showing her a different side of himself might make her reconsider her actions during those lonely nights ahead. In the days leading up to Thursday, Harry's office became a hub of distraction. Rather than focusing on his usual tasks, he found himself engrossed in mapping out potential scenarios for the impending confrontation. Aware of the inherent unpredictability of such situations, he meticulously crafted various strategies, hoping to anticipate every possible outcome. Despite his efforts, he knew that adaptability would be key once Thursday arrived. Outside of work, tension permeated the atmosphere at home. Communication between Harry and Deborah was terse, limited to essential exchanges. Deborah, typically assertive in their relationship, found herself hesitating, uncertain of Harry's uncharacteristic behavior. She suspected it was a passing phase, perhaps a reaction to workplace stress, and opted to observe rather than confront him. However, beneath her outward composure, she harbored a growing unease, symbolized by the knife she now carried for a sense of security. As Harry immersed himself in physical training at the company gym, his mind buzzed with anticipation. Each exercise served as a rehearsal for the impending showdown, fueling his determination. Meanwhile, Deborah grappled with conflicting emotions, torn between her desire to maintain control and the gnawing fear of what Harry's behavior might signify for their relationship. In the midst of uncertainty, one thing remained certain. Thursday would bring clarity, for better or for worse. As Thursday approached, Deborah's anticipation grew. She hoped that encountering Buddy would provide clarity amidst the chaos of their unraveling relationship. Meanwhile, on Tuesday night, while Deborah was occupied in the shower, Harry delved into his dresser drawers in search of a treasured heirloom from his grandfather. This item held sentimental value, having been passed down through generations of military service. Harry's father and grandfather, both veterans, had imparted stories of wartime experiences, including the acquisition of a set of brass knuckles from a fallen German soldier after the Normandy campaign. Harry inspected the formidable steel weapon, recognizing its potential significance in the looming conflict with Deborah and her illicit lover. In Harry's eyes, this situation mirrored warfare. Deborah's betrayal and her affair with Buddy represented a breach of trust, akin to an enemy's underhanded tactics. As he held the steel knuckles in his hand, he understood that drastic measures were necessary. Just as his ancestors had confronted adversaries with resolve, Harry prepared to face this challenge head-on. Determined to reclaim control of his life, Harry forced down a hearty breakfast at work on Thursday morning, knowing he wouldn't eat lunch. He hoped his rival would, which might slow him down. Mostly he paced his office floor, meticulously going over details. He had strategically placed a few items in the guest bedroom, hoping to utilize them. Whether Deborah waited for her lover in the backyard, or simply opened the gate and returned inside, he was prepared to adapt. His fingers traced the steel knuckles sitting on his desk as he paced, stoking his controlled anger. By 1 o'clock, he had changed into jeans, a t-shirt, and sturdy running shoes. He double-checked his pockets. Cell phone, keys, knuckles, billfold. Before leaving, he dialed Deborah from his desk phone, ensuring she would see his work number on the caller ID and know he was genuinely at the office. This preemptive call aimed to thwart any attempt from Deborah to reach him. He maintained a calm demeanor on the call, informing her of afternoon meetings and his unavailability. Deborah interpreted his call as a return to his usual docility, easing her concerns. As she prepared to meet her lover, she relaxed with this knowledge. It took 20 minutes for Harry and Kelly to drive to the park. Loverboy's car hadn't arrived yet. Kelly dropped Harry off, and he jogged down the street to his house, slipping into the backyard through the side gate far from the garage. Concealed behind a photinia bush, he anxiously checked the time on his muted phone. At 1:45, Deborah emerged into the backyard, clad in a string bikini, making her way toward the back gate, which served as Harry's cue. He had strategically left the side gate slightly ajar, slipping through it and maneuvering around to the front entrance. With his key, he unlocked the front door and traversed the very spot where his wife's betrayal had been uncovered days earlier. Moving swiftly, Harry retrieved a cordless drill and some hardware from the spare bedroom before advancing to the master bedroom. In a matter of moments, he affixed a hasp to the inside of the door, leaving a lock dangling from it. To prevent any accidental closure, he wedged a small piece of wood between the door and the jamb. Heart racing, he armed himself with brass knuckles, grabbed the video camera from the guest bedroom, and poised himself for what lay ahead. Despite the myriad possibilities for things to go awry, Harry remained composed, focusing on executing his plan flawlessly. As he stood in the guest bedroom, brass knuckles donned and camera in hand, he listened intently to the approaching sounds. The sliding glass door shifted, accompanied by laughter and murmurs. Deborah's giggles mingled with a deep masculine growl, evoking a mental image of her companion. Quietly trailing behind, Harry positioned the camera strategically within the master bedroom, ensuring it captured every damning detail. His anticipation mounted as he awaited the moment of undeniable evidence, the proof he desperately sought to expose. With bated breath, Harry steeled himself outside the door, bracing for what lay ahead. Minutes stretched into an eternity as the couple indulged in unhurried passion, their intimate exchanges confirming Harry's worst suspicions. The familiarity of Deborah's words only fueled his resentment, solidifying his belief in her unresolved issues. For Harry, the wait was agonizing, each passing moment amplifying his seething rage. Yet he remained steadfast in his resolve, determined to confront the betrayal head-on. With a deep breath, Harry pushed open the door. The sight before him confirmed everything. Deborah and Buddy entangled, utterly oblivious to his presence. His voice cut through the silence like a blade. Well, isn't this cozy?" he said coldly, his anger simmering beneath the surface. Deborah shrieked, scrambling to cover herself, while Buddy turned, his face a mixture of confusion and fear. Harry stepped into the room, the brass knuckles glinting ominously in his hand. "Get dressed," he commanded Deborah, his voice devoid of emotion. She stammered, trying to speak, but Harry's glare silenced her. Turning his attention to Buddy, he added, "As for you, stay right where you are." Buddy hesitated but soon realized he had no leverage in this situation. Harry's calm exterior masked the storm raging within him, and Buddy could sense it. Harry motioned toward the camera he'd set up, now capturing everything. "Smile for the camera, Buddy. This little moment is going to cost you." As Deborah dressed hurriedly, tears streaming down her face, she attempted to explain. "Harry, I can explain." "Don't," he cut her off sharply. "Say your lies. I've heard enough." Harry then turned his full attention to Buddy, who had risen cautiously from the bed. "You think you can waltz into my home, disrespect me, and get away with it?" Harry asked, his voice low and menacing. Without waiting for an answer, he swung his fist, the brass knuckles connecting with Buddy's jaw in a sickening crunch. Buddy staggered, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, but Harry wasn't finished. "You come into my house, into my bed." Harry's voice grew louder as he delivered another blow, this time to Buddy's ribs, sending him crashing to the floor. Deborah screamed, begging Harry to stop, but he ignored her. His years of pent-up frustration, humiliation, and anger poured out in each calculated strike. Once Buddy was incapacitated, groaning on the floor, Harry stepped back, breathing heavily. He turned to Deborah, who cowered against the wall. "Pack your things. You're leaving tonight. And don't think you'll get a cent from me in the divorce." Deborah sobbed, her voice trembling. "Harry, please, I made a mistake." Harry laughed bitterly. "A mistake? A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. This was deliberate. Repeated. You don't mistake your way into a years-long affair." As Deborah scrambled to gather her belongings, Harry knelt next to Buddy, his tone icy. "When you leave here, you go straight to Kelly and tell her everything. If you so much as breathe near my house again, you'll regret it." He stood, wiping his hands on his jeans, and pointed toward the door. "Out. Both of you. Now." Buddy stumbled to his feet, clutching his side, and staggered toward the door. Deborah followed. Her shoulders slumped in defeat. Harry watched them leave, the door slamming behind them. The house fell silent, the weight of what had transpired settling heavily in the air. Harry turned off the camera and sat down on the edge of the bed, the adrenaline slowly fading. He felt a strange mixture of relief and sorrow. The life he'd known for so long was over, but for the first time in years, he felt a sense of control, a sense of freedom. Later that evening, Harry called Kelly Mitchell to inform her of what had transpired. "It's done," he said simply. "You might want to have a conversation with your husband. He won't be coming back here." Kelly's voice was calm but resolute. "Thank you, Harry. It's time for me to take care of my side of things." As the days passed, Harry began the process of rebuilding his life. He filed for divorce, securing the evidence he'd gathered to ensure Deborah would receive as little as possible in the settlement. He focused on his work, his health, and his future. Though the scars of betrayal would take time to heal, Harry knew he was finally moving in the right direction. For Deborah, life became a series of consequences. Cut off from Harry's support and facing the disapproval of her family, she struggled to piece her life together. Buddy, too, faced his own reckoning, as Kelly followed through on her promise to leave him with nothing. Though their paths diverged, one thing was certain. The choices they had made would haunt them both for years to come. Epilogue. Months later, Harry stood in his backyard, the gazebo he'd worked so hard to build finally complete. It stood as a symbol of his perseverance, a reminder that even in the face of betrayal and loss, he had the strength to rebuild. As he sat beneath its shade, sipping a cold drink, he allowed himself a small smile. The future was uncertain, but it was his, and that was enough. Thanks to everyone who took the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share your thoughts on the events in the comments below. Take care.